When you think about long-lasting icons in the transportation world, planes like the Boeing 747 might come to mind. More than 1,500 were built, and many have lasted well into the 21st century. They're still adored by pilots, aviation enthusiasts, and the general public. But what about locomotive icons? Well, in my opinion, a deserving candidate would be the Electro-Motive division SD40-2. It wasn't the biggest or most powerful locomotive ever built, but many are still in service, and it's definitely a RAILFAN favorite.
There's no doubt the SD40-2 is a modern classic. Many examples of these locomotives are still operating in the United States, Canada, and other countries around the world. 3,949 units were built from 1972 until 1986. They were one of the best-selling models in Electro-Motive division history, and many have been rebuilt and refurbished over the years. Out of the factory, the SD40-2's 16-cylinder turbocharged 645 engine produced 3,000 horsepower. The units were equipped with a solid-state modular electrical control system, and that's part of what the -2 in its name indicated. This made them far more dependable than past locomotives with hardwired circuitry. This page from EMD's operator's manual shows us how the various components were incorporated into the locomotive. The SD40-2s also got new HT-C trucks. These trucks were longer than previous models, which resulted in a longer frame and so-called front or back porches. Today, many of these old workhorses look very much like they did when they were built, but others have been modified or updated. Norfolk Southern turned these into an environmentally friendly mother-slug mated pair. Meanwhile, CSX 4001 was converted to an SD40-3. CSX also uses SD40E3s on its roster. Those flashing lights on top of the NS and CSX units indicate they can be remotely controlled. Of course, not all engines that wear SD40-2 markings actually started out that way. These Blue Ridge Southern locomotives were originally SD45s that had their engines swapped out. A lot of these old SD40-2s have a long history on the rails. NS 3574 was built in 1980 for Burlington Northern, and you observant rail fans will immediately notice that out-of-place, nose-mounted headlight. But this still isn't as distinctive as the old Southern Railway SD40-2s that had high short hoods and were set up to run long hood forward.
There were other variants of the SD40-2 that I didn't mention in this video. Southern Pacific had SD40T-2s, so-called tunnel motors, while Canadian Pacific ordered SD40-2Fs, which had wide noses and body panels running the full length of the locomotive. Canadian National units were also distinctive because of their wide-nose comfort cabs. Meanwhile, Burlington Northern and Union Pacific operated models that acted as test beds for different components. Of course, there were also different variants exported outside of North America. But no matter what they look like, SD40-2s are versatile and resilient machines. Whether they're pulling panel switches or hauling freight, it looks like these RAILFAN favorites will be with us for many more years to come.